Welcome friends, my name is Sagar Deshmukh. Today we'll discuss the introductory part of foundation and then we'll start the discussion of combined footings. Till now we have discussed regarding the isolated footing because we haven't learned that a design of isolated footing properly. So that's why I have revised that part. From now onwards we'll discuss the combined footing because we have got the basic idea of how to design the footing, which steps are followed during the design of footing. So we'll start with the foundation. Foundation is the lower part of structure which is in direct contact with soil. And transfers the load to the soil beneath. Footing transfers the vertical loads, horizontal loads, moments, and forces and other forces to the soil. Footing has to be designed to safely transmit the load of structure to the sufficient area of soil. If soil is overstressed, it may lead to the shear failure resulting in sliding of soil along a plane of rupture and thus result in collapse. Combined footing. A combined footing is used to support two load of two or more adjacent columns to have uniform bearing pressure and to minimize differential settlement of columns. Here some footings are shown in this slide. This is the section of rectangular footing. This is plan for it. When there is a unequal loading on column, we go for trapezoidal footing. So this is the plan for trapezoidal footing in this section. So these are the combined footings. Now we'll see when did the combined footing is provided. What are the reason behind provision of combined footing? When the columns are nearer to each other so that their isolated footing overlaps. This is the first case when we provide the combined footing. When two adjacent columns, I will show here. If suppose these are this is one in the second column, the footing, let me redraw that. This is first column and this is second column, and if suppose footings of this column are overlapping each other, this is footing for this column and this is the footing for second column. In this case, as the part of footing is overlapping with each other, so that's why we'll combine this two footing for this two column and we'll make one footing for these two columns. So this is the first case. Second, when the bearing capacity of soil is lower and require a more area under individual footing. When we know that when the bearing capacity of soil is lower, we need to transfer the load through large area of footing. So in order to create large area of footing, we combine the footings of adjacent column in order to transfer the load safely. The third case is when one column is close to a property line or the center of gravity of column will not coincide with footing, or dimension of one footing dimension of one side of footing are restricted to some lower value. So in these cases the combined footing is provided. So I will explain the third point also. If suppose your plot, this is your plot. In this case, if one of the column is very nearer to the plot boundary, suppose this is the center of column. So in this case, if you provide footing for this column, it is going beyond the plot boundary. So this portion of column is outside the plot boundary. So in that case, we combine putting of this column with the column inside, and will make a combined footing to compensate outside area of the footing. So this is the third case. Now we'll see the next point, that will be types of combined footing on the basis of connectivity first. So we'll see the types of combined footing on the basis of connectivity. Slab type combined footing. It supports two or more column with bottom slab only. The second is slab beam type combined footing. It supports two or more column with bottom slab and beam. Third, strap beam type combined footing. Strap footing are normally used when one of the column is subjected to large eccentric loading or when two columns are far apart. A strap is designed to transfer eccentric moment between two columns. Next, there is one common type of combined footing which is used for soil having lower bearing capacity, that is raft footing. Now we'll see the classification of combined footing based on shape. This is the classification which in which we are interested. So first of all, we'll see rectangular footing. If width of footing is restricted, we go for rectangular footing, and if the load on adjacent columns are same, then we'll provide rectangular footing, rectangular combined footing. But if heavy load on one column near property line, adjacent column, so in this case we'll go for trapezoidal footing. If length of footing is restricted, in this case also we may go for trapezoidal footing. Simply, if the load on column is not equal, adjacent column is not equal, we go for trapezoidal combined footing. Now we'll see what data is required for design of footing. In the previous video, we have discussed one problem of isolated footing. In that, we have discussed the general design, or we have solved one problem of design of isolated footing. So we know what are the steps for design of footing. So data which is required for design is size of footing, that is size of column. This must be known to us, size of column, while designing the combined footing. Then the second thing we must know, that is WA and WB, that is column load on column. Then third, center to center distance between two columns. This is also must be known to us. Then shape bearing capacity of soil. Then grade of concrete and grade of steel. So these are the things which are required necessarily for design of combined footing. Now we'll see what are the design steps which we are performing in the design of combined footing. As we have designed the isolated footing, in similar manner we are going to follow the steps for design of combined footing. So first step will be to determine the size of combined footing. In the design of isolated footing also, we have first of all we have calculated the size of footing. So that step remains same here. The second step is to determine the moment and shear in various section of the footing, that is SFT and BMD. So in order to know the critical sections, we need to know the shear force diagram and bending moment diagram of footing, combined footing. So in the second step, we'll determine the moment and shear in various sections. In the case of isolated footing, the sections were taken directly. Then in the third step, we'll check the depth for punching shear and direct shear, that is one way shear. Here we are calculating the trial depth by bending moment criteria. So we'll check that depth for punching shear and direct shear, that is one way shear. Then the next step is to design the longitudinal reinforcement. After that, we'll find out the all the details of longitudinal reinforcement in the design. After that, we'll find the or we'll design transverse reinforcement, and in the last step we'll sketch out or will specify the reinforcement details. So this is how we'll follow the steps while designing the combined footing. Area of footing is calculated as total working load on column plus self weight of footing, which is considered as 10% of total load on column, and column or shape bearing capacity of soil. So I had discussed this step in the design of isolated footing, so it will be remaining same. The next is the size of footing shall be determined to have uniform bearing pressure under the footing, so that the differential settlement is minimized. This is the important point. The size of footing shall be determined to have uniform bearing pressure under the footing, so that differential settlement is minimized. Next point, the resultant of bearing pressures needs to coincide with resultant of column loads. For that, we need to check the conditions of loading. After that, we have to calculate the effective point at which the load due to column is acting. Depending on, we decide the dimension of footing. So this is also important. The resultant of bearing pressures need to be coincide with resultant of column loads. So we try to keep the center of footing at this point. Okay. Structural analysis of footing. The structural analysis of combined footing is the same as analyzing an invert simply supported beam supported by two columns with factored soil pressure as loading. So this case of combined footing is like this. These are the two columns which are resting on the footing. So and this is the upward soil pressure acting on the soil. If you invert this image, I will redraw that. You will get the loading condition like this. I have just reversed the case. These two supports are nothing but the column loads, and this is the uniformly distributed load, which is QU, that is net upward soil pressure. So this is the case of loading for the combined footing. The procedures are as follows: calculate factored load of footing pressure, calculate maximum shear at an effective depth from face of column, which will be required to us for taking the checks. Calculate maximum shear uh, sorry calculate maximum positive and negative moment in the footing. Maximum positive moment occurs at face of column. Maximum negative moments occur between two columns at zero shear. Check for shear. The critical section for punching shear is taken at half the effective depth from face of column. This is already discussed by us in previous video. For column at edge of footing, the critical section of punching shear only has three sides along the column. So we have to take only area of three sides only. Okay, in the previous problem we have taken area of four sides, perimeter into depth, but here we'll have only three sides because the column is on edge. The critical section of direct shear is taken at D from the face of column. For one way shear it is at a distance of D. This is also discussed by us already. After that we have to find, after checking taking the checks, we have to find out the longitudinal reinforcement, shear reinforcement, transverse reinforcement, and the last thing which we have to do, that is reinforcement detailing. So this is how we'll solve the numericals related to the design of combined footing. In the next lecture or next video, we'll start the actual actual solution of the problem of combined footing, and we'll see how to calculate the area of footing, how this dimension of footing are calculated, what changes are there, or how this design of combined footing differs from the design of isolated footing. What are the types of reinforcement which require, how to calculate the shear force and bending moment diagrams for this combined footing. So we'll see all these terms in the actual solution of problem. Till now we have taken the basic information regarding the design of combined footing. In this video, the points which are important and or which must be known to us, that are the cases for which combined footing is provided. I will show that slide. This is important when we provide the combined footing. So you must know these points. So I request all of you to read these points. After that, this is also important when will we go for the design of rectangular footing, or when did we provide the rectangular footing or trapezoidal footing, trapezoidal combined footing. So these cases are also important. So first of all, you try to remember these steps, what data is required for a design of the footing, and what are the design steps. While solving the problem in next lecture, you should know or you should remember the steps, so that it will be easy for you to understand this. So we'll solve the problem numerical in the next lecture. Thank you for watching this video. We'll continue with numerical of combined footing in the next lecture. Thank you for watching.